are recording.
Right. So today's topic, virtual conferences, and I'm going to talk a lot today, which my clicker doesn't work, so I'll go manually. So if you're like organizing one of the conferences, you'll see that there's a couple of different threads of research. It's either going to be about people streaming games, webinars, or social streaming or professional broadcasting streaming. So I'll take you through that, like how you can level up your game, but bear those kind of in mind. Like 7 topics, that's a lot. And I cut way more, so bear with me. This is the first time I put all the slides together. I cut them down from 250 to 65 slides. So, this, I can do way more sessions if that's needed. But, today it is what it is. First thought, everybody's thinking about doing a virtual conference. Let's use Zoom, right? That's the easy thing. You have the speakers like we're doing now. It's easy, but limited in the number of participants. But then they know, of course, there's a webinar function and you can get way more people. So that's nice. But you still require everybody to download Zoom and to kind of get on the webinar software. So that's why people move on and look for more solutions like YouTube streaming. Like you can stream directly live from Zoom into YouTube. It's a couple of settings. But basically, you got the whole flow. You had the attendees, the closer in the Zoom, and then the audience streaming their stuff live. Pretty easy, right? Congratulations, you did it. Like I cut all the animations, so you don't have to sit through them. But then the next thing is we've got everybody on the Zoom call on YouTube, and then they say like your camera looks crap. We already had that discussion before this session. So what can we do to improve our local AV quality? The first thing is to kind of go for it that the webcam probably doesn't cut it for you. It's good quality, but not good enough if you want to have it crisp. It also has this annoying looking down angle that you want to avoid while doing kind of those recordings. One of the options is to go for one of the external webcams. There are great webcams in general, but most of them actually sacrifice the fluidity of the image for lighting. So you'll have to make a trade-off. Either it's well lit or it's like pixelated and like fast moving. So that's kind of what webcam gives you. What I'm using today, and then when you're using the webcam, one way to, if you don't buy anything special, to improve it, is just buy more lights. And it sounds so stupid, but a bad lighted webcam and a fully lighted one makes like the world of difference. It's the same, like just adding the light gets you way more a fluid image on the streaming. There's a couple of things you can do by it yourself, by a ring light you mount on your like laptop. Look at my face currently, it's lit by only one light. So you'll create like shadows. So you'll have to do like dual lighting. So you can use something like the key light to kind of proper light it. If you really want to go like Eddie style lighting, you go to the Pro Studio lighting and you got like more lights on the top, on the front, on the left and the right. But that's a whole studio setup. I settled just like with the key light, it's something I just mount on my desk as the light, and it's easy stuff to do. But if you want to like level up your game, what I'm using right now is a DSLR camera. And it looks, I'll just buy a DSLR, or maybe you have a DSLR camera handy and you just connect it to it. But there's a couple of gotchas before doing it. It gives you like way better, the sensors are better, so the quality of the image will be way better in bad lighting. So that's good. But there's some gotchas. The first one is, if you take the output of the camera, you'll need like an adapter, kind of going from your HDMI output from your DSLR, making that like a camera through an USB connector. So you'll need like some way of converting that, like a cam link is a good example. Then the next thing is, like, we're basically taking the viewer port on your DSLR that is getting streamed. Like some cameras, you can't disable the overlays. Like, so if you buy it, watch which one you can disable these overlays or not. There's a handy website that you can check on Elgato, like whether your camera supports it or not. Then if you start recording with this DSLR camera and you have this adapter connecting it as a virtual camera, there's going to be a slight delay between the image and the audio. So you'll need something to synchronize the audio to get that perfectly. So there's a lot of work, but it can be worth it. You'll need some permanent power because the batteries in your DSLR aren't cutting it. You know, there's a lot of knockoffs, so search the good one if you want to do that, because you'll just have like camera, you don't know what's happening. There is also a European limitation that a camera is not allowed to video stream more than 30 minutes. And that's the European Union. So if you buy one, you know, you're going to hit that issue. There's a way to get around it. But then if you keep the camera running too long, there are overheating sensors as well. Beware that, like, look for your camera, whether that's overheated or not. It shouldn't be happening if you're not really recording. If you're just using the viewport, you should be fine. Just like your iPhone, you can jailbreak your camera, and then you get like all these things like recording, tweaks, and so on to do whatever you want. Then you basically want to disable all the audio enhancements of your recording like camera, because they're like, for example, they will give you this skin tone that is becoming waxed, or autofocus jitter that goes on and off. So be aware that you disable those. And I'm using this one around 300 euros. It gives a fine quality. And I think it's worth investing it compared to, you know, all the webcams and the prices of the webcams. They're getting as close as a DSLR camera. And it really lifts your game on the webcam stuff. Don't forget, one of the best cameras out there is actually an iPhone 10 or something that you can just repurpose for the video streaming. And it makes you very crisp on that as well. But for that, you'll need like a special app on your phone that, again, like the viewer port from the camera, allows you to have a clear view of what the camera is seeing without having like the extra information on your camera application. So there's a couple of here that you can download, but you know, you obviously need that. Then you can even use your camera over the network, things like Zoom and so on, that actually allow you for a remote camera. So it allows you for better mounting the camera wherever you want to still be like recording it while you're presenting from your desktop. That's kind of improving your AV, you know, DSLR, high level, better camera, better lighting. Then there's audio, like things to, like when you record your audio, a lot of the Yetis and kind of those stuff, they pick the sound up around them. They're made for conversational podcasting with many people in the same room. So they also pick up when, you know, somebody in your house goes to the toilet or whatever. So, you know, avoid those kind of microphones if you can. Also, if you buy a microphone, use one that has a boom arm and don't put it on your table, because when you're typing, when all the contact noises will be amplified by that microphone. So use something that you can mount on the table. And then if you want to get like really funky, you use like an audio mixer, like a mix panel, but be aware of any ground noises. It could be as simple as replacing your Mac power adapter with a higher watt or a newer version that will make that ground noise go away. And just in general, the first intention is like, oh, I'm going to get a microphone. I'm going to cheap one. There's no magic. Just, you know, buy it somewhere in the middle, high end. All of those cheap ones, you'll buy just another one, and it just isn't worth it. Like you'll keep investing on that stuff. So we got the video, we got the audio. Then there's a couple of tricks to improve eye contact when you're doing a recording. Just like the little pseudo focus point, you put that on top of your laptop so you're looking more straight into the camera with eye contact, which I'm not doing because I haven't done it. But another way of doing it is just mount your laptop on like a box or anything, so it becomes higher level, so you get like a better straight angle. The easiest one is to actually have go like further away, so that the angle with which you're watching the camera actually like gets smaller while you're sitting away, and it does improve the eye contact. There's fancier stuff like the teleprompter, but the point of that is that if you want to have the connected feeling of somebody like talking to him or her, minimize your zoom window and put it on top of the screen in a mini-device version, so you'll look more like directly focused instead of having to look somewhere in the middle of the screen. That just saves you focus there as well. Interesting enough, things like FaceTime, they have a way of using AR to actually like lift the eyes automatically up. And I think I heard that Microsoft Surface is doing the same, like one of the bigger ones. They're using AR to actually like in real time change the eyes so you get better eye contact. So those are like a different ways of, you know, depending on the complexity to improve your stuff. So that's the first part. I don't know if we go for like one question right now or something, or I just continue, Katie.
You can continue.
Okay, right. So we got everything working on the camera. We improved the audios and like AV and the lighting. So what you want to do now is that instead of having this one image of your camera, you want to like improve that you have like multiple layouts in there. And then you'll like hear about like use one of the local mixers, what I say. So this is basically something that sits in between while you stream. The diagram is wrong, but the basic idea is that you're using this to lay out whatever is on your screen. So you can add lower thirds, you can like make the image smaller, bigger, and anything you want to do there on the layout of the window, like you use something like that. There's many features in those things. One of them looking at like recording things locally, like ISO recording is important. If you have, for example, giving a presentation and doing video recording, that you have both recordings separately, and then you can kind of like zoom in, zoom out, instead of having to do the layout while you're presenting as well. There's a big list of streamers depending on, you know, feature set, whether they're free or more paying, more powerful, and so on. So, you know, you can have a look at the slides for the different things. And now what you actually can do with this kind of what I call an AV, local AV mixer, you can create like a virtual camera that feeds directly into Zoom. So you can have anything that has lower thirds or anything like picture in picture, or while you're coding, mixing the different scenes. You can do that actually by using virtual camera on the output. So that's one of the features you'll be looking for if you do the, like select one of those local AV streaming solutions. So we improved the layout, and the next thing is what we actually want to do is like stream out. You know, we mentioned already going to YouTube, but there's many different ways we can do that. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, there are many places, depending on where your audience is. You can like either stream from one of those local mixers directly to one of those destinations, or multiple at the same time, but they will all cost you bandwidth because you're basically streaming, sending out a stream, and depending on your Wi-Fi requirements, you know, you might not have, you know, a good enough Wi-Fi to stream that from your home. So there's a solution where you only send like one stream. It's called like Restream, and that one you will send it on your behalf to any of the other streams if you want to. So that saves you bandwidth of sending out a stream from your local where you're sitting. There's many of them. I want to give some caveats because most of people think about YouTube. YouTube channels, they take an approval, 24 hours, if you're ahead of time, that's fine. If like we had one of our sessions have multiple tracks, you can only use the same phone for maximum 2 YouTube channels per year. So you'll have to find like more phones. The streaming link from the live page on YouTube is not fixed. So it requires, I think, the ads, some of the AdSense functionality, and you have to apply for it to be able to run ads on your account before you can actually have this, a fixed live stream. Otherwise, you'll always get a new link for each of the live streams. And that means when you're embedding that into a site, you're always having to paste in a new link. And if the stream ends, you'll have to change it all the time. We had content flagged by YouTube, an innocent deepfake talk. Somebody was presenting at a security conference, we got flagged. So you might have to, worry about whatever is getting on there. The same thing if people start playing like video and audio, that might flag as well. And it can take forever to download a long stream once you've recorded it. So use it with caution and understand the limitations while you're doing it. It's still far the kind of, let's say, the easiest for viewers to go to, but if you want to integrate it, there's some things you need to take care of. We used Mixer.com, like one of the alternatives. So most of people know Twitch. Mixer is basically the Microsoft equivalent of Twitch for the game streaming. And the reason why we use this is that compared to all the others, it has about 1 to 2 seconds latency on the video streaming. And when you have very low latency on the video streaming, you get a way better interaction with the audience because they're basically not having to wait 8 or 20 seconds, depending on your solution that you're using. And it also helps when you're doing this on the coordination because there's nothing like annoying, like say, are we live? Are we live? And you only see it happening within 8 or 10 minutes, 8 or 10 seconds. And you kind of have to guess when it's on air or not on air. So it has really helped though. It has a fixed URL. It makes it easy to embed. It does require Microsoft login. So if you share that account, you can get blocked. And the annoying thing of their blocking is that you'll just have to sit through 24 hours. It's not like a validation process where I can say like, connect my phone and I'll click on the link. So there's some caveats to do it. But overall, quality is like very well, latency as well. So it's definitely something you consider besides using YouTube from those functionalities. So we got the cloud mixer, the local mixer sending things to YouTube. Like I mentioned before, one of the things you want to take care of is that you don't want your home internet to be the bottleneck while streaming. It's nice if people can wait, but if you're running a 4-track event on a 24-hour, runtime, and if my internet breaks, all the people are just waiting for anything to happen. So that's why I insist on people using something like a cloud mixer. It is like your local AV mixer, but it runs in the cloud as a service. So you don't have to worry when your internet connection breaks that it stops streaming from there. So again, like it sits somewhere between your local mixer and the cloud mixer, and then you can still use Restream to connect to any of the others. This is like one example. It's like StreamYard. It's super simple. It allows you to set a couple of layouts. You add somebody to the stream, and you just use your browser, connect your camera, and you're up. Nothing to install locally. Everybody can do it. Easy thing. If you're doing anything of browser recording on a Mac, be sure you go to the privacy and give all the flags of enable camera and so on. That was the number one maintenance support thing we needed to do is pointing out to people that they needed to allow the cameras in the browsers as well. Again, you can add like the layouts, the backgrounds, the brands, the logos quite easily. And I think the nice thing of that is that I don't have to explain that too much to somebody else. So if you're scaling up people like helpers or track hosts or anybody, this is something they will immediately understand. On, off, air, share, screen, it's very similar, but it all works in the browser and in the cloud. There's a few levels of maturity. There's GoLightstream compared to StreamYard. It's a little bit fancier. You have like previews. You can mix in sources, coming. You know, it's ramping up in kind of feature set. This quality is bad from this slide, but it means like there's levels and levels of how much features you can control, whether that's input sources, the quality of the stream, whether you're streaming in like full HD or stuff. But you pay for what you get, right? So low level entry, $50 a month, high end, you know, getting up to like $19, $20 an hour for streaming. So, you know, it's kind of more and more. There's several things you can look at. I think we covered the basics. This is just like an overall slide. And again, the overview of like what's easy or not, depending on how fancy you want to get. We got everything running in the cloud, and then there's always somebody who has like, I can build this myself, right? Like it doesn't want to use a service. And what most of these solutions kind of do is actually leverage a feature in Skype. It's like Skype called NDI. And what it does, if you flip on the button on Skype NDI, it sends the streams over the network. So each speaker will be in a separate stream coming from that Skype session. And what they do then is they take a machine in the cloud, either running on Azure or on Amazon, and they kind of run Skype on top of it. And then they use that as their streamer, and they connect to like their remote desktop using TeamViewer, because that plays nice with GPU systems. And then they say, well, you know, we have a cloud mixer. They forgot a couple of things. It isn't redundant. So that, you know, if anything fails or the machine gets shut down or you miss a patch, you know, it's all do it yourself, but obviously you can do it if, you know, that's the thing that you want to learn. Short thing on the conference platforms. There's many of them. I categorize them to the left, the ones with the 80s look, and on the right, the one with the modern look. And you will see immediately when you log on that that's the case. I'm not saying the right has all the features compared to the left. It is just a matter of taste and like how fresh and how modern you want to look. That is definitely something you want to go for. The left ones tend to go with the virtual reality look, like the pseudo 3D look on how to do things. And the right use modern like browser technology, web player, and so on. And that's kind of what they do. Like we didn't use a platform. And the reason why is that we didn't have to worry about the CFP management because we had our own system. The ticket sales, we had our own system. Registration, we had our own system. Analytics, our own system. Sponsor booths, we didn't have because we just played like a video. But if that's something that's important for you, you might consider using a platform because that's something, if you need to build that yourself, that's going to take some time. And they also, like, depending on which one you select, they have some kind of gamification. You know, if you attended the conference, you get a certificate. If you had attended all the conference booths, you get like a leaderboard function that give away the prize. And they kind of also try to do some pseudo social, let's say a variant of chat roulette. But I don't know if anybody's using it, but it's something they tend to offer as well in that list. What you should watch out for, you know, coming back to the 80s look, accessibility, mobile view, that like is something, if all your users are viewing it on the go, that's annoying. Branding options, they might charge you more depending on like your branding, because then you become like in the consultancy sphere and like the thing that they can do like custom made for you. It's also sometimes a lock-in, like whatever goes in can never go out. So be aware that whatever video you record, you can get out of them. And then there's a price models per event, per registration, per attendee, because that's a different thing. You can have like many people registering for a free one or even per view, and it's all different pricing. And like one of the annoying things is they have not considered GDPR. It's just like whatever you've clicked on, you get emails all around. So watch out for those kind of platforms who don't allow sponsors to really track whether you had an interest or you were just watching the video. And then I found one who was like still explaining that you needed to have like Flash installed. So be aware of any browser requirements on that side as well. Now I'm going into the part of all the talks, the conference we did, and the learnings we kind of had from the workflow there. So time zones, really hard, because you usually, a traditional conference would have been in one place, but now they're watching from all the world. So when is your schedule on? I haven't found actually one of the schedule tools that is well working with time zone differences. So we build our own using some JavaScript and Moment.js to kind of guess where you are in which time zone. So we kind of changed the schedule. Another learning is that use a CFP system. Don't use a spreadsheet for all that stuff. The nice thing is it delegates things to the speaker. They can change their bio, their description, whatever until the last time. So you are not a bottleneck that is just shuffling editing that they send and email you. And it goes way easier to replace a talk and use that. I found none of them very well for 24-hour schedules. It seems that none of that is really considering that. They might get displayed on 2 pages, which is not really what you want. So there's again a little gap there, but that's kind of easy to go for. Super important part during the workflow is doing a final AV check. We did it an hour before they went live. You can, depending on what quality you're aiming, you can do that sooner. The most important part, it gives you confidence as an organizer, and it gives the speaker confidence because every conference has a different system. And I want to make sure that they have the right software, the right permissions, quality is good, and so on. So scaling that as a separate task during the conference, that somebody manages the green room, is a very important thing to do. We had just one room where we can have multiple speakers on board them at the same time, because you're like, it's also nice they get to see somebody else. And basically, you're always solving the same problems, like permissions and so on. So that's definitely something, if you're doing it, that you should do, have a green room or a safety check there. Have a sorry asset. You think things will never fail, but there's a lot of things that can fail. So just having that one image that is nicely branded, that you can say, I switched the stream to the sorry page, and it's immediately clear why it's not working, whether the AV is not working, or you need like sort something out, or you're on a break instead of just showing a blank screen. That's something that is important to have. And I have a part of it an engineering background, so I made like a failure plan, like all components, and I had like a backup to do that. Things we learned, like corporate laptops, lockdown, ports, you can't install stuff. The fact that you were locked out of sessions by reusing social logins is annoying. I mentioned that already. We had one system that required us to get an email before getting a link. And then all of a sudden the email stopped coming through. And then you're waiting for a link, pretty annoying. And also make sure you have an emergency channel, or that's WhatsApp or something that is completely separate. It doesn't have to be, it can be in Slack, but the fact that this is like the red, like telephone, like if everything fails, you will at least have something that you can communicate. You know, face it, if Slack fails, you have something else to communicate as well. So that's, you know, you at conferences, people use like walkie-talkies, you know, that's kind of what you're doing there as well. And the way we set up all the talks is that we had each track had their own cloud AV mixer. The track hosts could change the layout depending on what they saw fit on their track. I just trained all the track hosts. We did 24 hours, so you know there were a couple of them, and I made them like use the easy cloud AV mixer to be sure that I didn't have to handle any of switching speakers presentations. Then I had a global mixing system that allowed me to go like, and now this room is live, and now that one. And in case I needed a backup, I could use Zoom to the global mixer in case the other failed. So like backups, scenarios over backups. We streamed to Mixer, but we were ready to stream to YouTube in case we had a failure there as well. I've done many live shows, so anything could fail, from a DNS to a certificate that has expired to anything, or the person having to leave early for his kids. Everything can happen. Then while presenting or being a host, I think what we started doing spontaneously is having a sidekick. That is somebody who pulls in the speaker for the other person and also monitors the questions, whether that's on socials or Slack or anything else. Like the track host should focus on the live show. It shouldn't be like triaging incoming questions all the time, because that will just create, like, divert the focus of what that person is doing all the time. And I'm not saying this is the most fancy page, but this is how our streaming page looked like. The donate button on the top was just Eventbrite. We had stream 1, 2, 3, switching just an iframe embed player from mixer.com. On the right, we had an iframe embed from our scheduling system, Sessionize, and we could switch between getting comments over like a chat on the website, and then people also got it on Slack. So the nice thing is people stay in the same place all the time, so they leave everything running, and it's not that they have to click through and then do too much. So it gives this like the live experience, the one page. It makes it also really simple to say, my call to action is go to live.allthetalks.online. Instead of saying, well, you go to that web page for that and click through, and then people get lost in the conference platform there as well. And that's basically my session. And obviously, you will have many questions right now.
Thank you. That was great. I have questions, but I think the community does first. So who's up?
I can jump in if someone doesn't have a question. I was going to ask about, and that was awesome, by the way, Patrick. Thank you very much. You highlighted so many, so many great points. I've made notes, and that was brilliant. I know it's being recorded, so I can watch it again as well. About the NDI. So I did have a play with the NDI and going to the cloud, and I just found that the NDI, there was a little bit of lag and the quality wasn't there, like really wasn't there. I know when you're using a cloud platform over, what is it? I can't remember what the protocol is, but it's stuck at it's limited to 720p. But this was like, I don't know, I found it even worse. Even when you make the person smaller in the corner, you could still see it wasn't over NDI great quality, even if they're using a proper camera and system. Maybe I wasn't doing it right. I just want to know what kind of what you experience you had with that.
So there's two areas there. The one is that you need to have enough GPU power right? If you tend to take one of the lower level GPUs, it might not be enough. I've seen that multiple times, that people start with the low end somehow. And then the second one is that depending on the bandwidth you're getting through Skype, they tend to kind of decrease the quality of the stream. So you do need like a good connection on the internet streaming in, but I've seen it get to 1080p, but it all depends on how stable your connection is at that time. So I can send you a few links on people who've done similar things, so you can see on that. So.
Cool,
So,
thank you, Patrick.
Patrick, I've got a question which sort of gets to my current experience, where I found even just so I'm trying to record a talk, and I've done a few of these now, and I guess my question is oh wait, and you all can't hear me because of my mic issues. My question is about the balance between sort of consistency, but how do you see this working out vis-a-vis, you want all your speakers to do great, you want it to be as unstressful an experience as you can, and yet there is some aspects of almost sort of bring your own AV, and I'm sort of interested in I mean, obviously you've just given a whole stack where that is not bring your own, but you know, once you've got like people need their own mics and you can, like, how do you make everybody comfortable and sort of create some sort of consistency across the experience? Or do we all just need to accept that, at least at the moment where we're doing more virtual stuff, that you're not going to have consistency?
Well, you mean consistency in the quality, or?
Consistency in the quality, really, yeah. I mean, some speakers, and you know, especially where you've got some speakers that are like, oh, I'm going to do live coding now, and I've got my own streaming going on, and I'm doing this amazing stuff, and the next person is more like me, turning up and being like, well, I think it's working, but I'm not quite sure. Like, I think the responsibility is a bit distributed and challenging.
If you're doing live, right, you kind of have to live a little bit with that. Obviously, you can schedule ahead of the conference some sessions with those persons, like the green room, but you know, how's that room lighting going? How's your camera going? So you can do that ahead of time. There's also another, like if you, for example, want to avoid the internet as a bottleneck, ask them to record locally, right? And then replay it. I have seen so many times where somebody was just pre-recorded, but it was, you know, like went out as live. But it takes a few things, like, for example, if you would stand straight, you'll get like way better energy of talking, and it will get more lively. If, again, the eye contact makes a difference. And for example, having a mini audience while recording, or like a few things that can help the energy, but it saves you from, you know, having to record it on your own over the internet with bad quality. So if you can, I would kind of pre-record. It has a couple of advantages by having the speaker on the Slack immediately answering the questions, not at the end of the session. It saves so much time of hassling and filtering and waiting until somebody, gets his camera going or phone going. But as far as the quality, right, I've seen All Day DevOps, they send like cameras to the speakers, microphones, good quality. So it all depends on how much you want to level up and get guidance from somebody before the event to do that. But I've seen somebody perform like a live music show without any hitch. I've seen people doing live coding, but yeah, I think the best is that you write a document with good guidance on what they can do and share that. But if you lack the manpower, it's like something you need to consider as going from there. So.
Okay, because like even now I'm realizing that the thing I was like, wait, I need to go back and record it again the light has changed, and I'm now worried that I'm running out of light, or I'm out to get evenings. Yeah, it's not always easy.
You can do a lot in post-processing, which I didn't touch on. Like if you do recordings, like get the raw image recorded, and then somebody else, like with the AV's chops, can really get that better. You can't do magic, but they can definitely like increase stuff, and the same with the audio. It's like if you, for example, will record your audio also with your phone, and that might be better quality actually than your microphone that you have on your machine, and they just stitch the two together. But yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Any other questions? I'm not monitoring the chat, so who's my sidekick? That like that's the question.
Yeah, the sidekick point is really good. I mean, I think definitely buddies. That's what I've noticed when it's done well. Just having someone there that's there to look out for you is super important, I think.
So the question on the speaker gift, that it is a speaker gift, so they get to keep it. And so the nice thing is that they also send it with some branding from the sponsors. So that's kind of, an interesting idea. And,
that was going to be my next
always
question.
keep it in mind with the fact that you got the camera from them, right? It's like a very easy thing.
And when you're giving your talk, you also, the branding is in your vision scope too.
So quick question on headphones and microphones. Like obviously there's a bunch of us using wireless, I guess, Bluetooth stuff. In your experience, does that make a difference for talks? I guess if you're a musician, maybe the latency would, but I get for giving a talk, do you think that makes a difference?
To be honest, when I researched like higher quality audio, it was always wired, right? Like, or it was like the wireless microphone that we use on stage or something, but never Bluetooth. I think maybe, it exists, but Bluetooth is typically for a headset with, kind of walking around. And I don't know, I haven't seen a high-end Bluetooth on that perspective. Maybe somebody else knows, but.
Audio latency has never been good enough on Bluetooth. It's always, I mean, you could adjust for that just like the other stuff, but it seems really problematic. It's like maybe 200 milliseconds off.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about the, your advice about sort of putting your laptop on a box and then you've got the right height, hopefully, for eye contact. But then I think about sort of Eddie's rig where everything is sort of fixed. I mean, I guess for me, I've just been in a position where I'm sort of half office, half bedroom at the moment. And I'm thinking it might have to no longer be a bedroom because I need a more, in order to have consistency and just things like I'd love to be able to have fixed things that were more fixed. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm just always moving things around and that makes things a lot harder.
If you have the space, obviously, that helps. But
if I may add to that, I mean, having things fixed is great, but you've got to plan more ahead. I think some of the mistakes that I made is that I fixed things as I went along, not knowing I had a rough idea where I was going, but didn't really have a clear picture. And I would then have to move things or buy different things to fix them, or some things are now so fixed, I can't move them. And so, I'd have to start again, which is obviously not going to happen. So yeah, just have a bit of a plan if you are going to fix things, I suppose. Like having a TV hanging from the ceiling, I thought was an amazing idea. Probably one of the worst things that I did because it dictates everything else.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, I guess sort of one of the things that my question is, so you nailed it pretty well. All the talks was really good. Obviously you're not in a hurry to do another one because you're not completely mad, or maybe you are. Oh, you nutcase! Is that the comedy one?
No. I'm helping with the DOS conference. So.
Jesus. Okay, so that being the case, what will you do differently, either in terms of the stack or the process, Like what, you know, you built something that worked really well, but was there anything you were like, oh, I'm not doing that again. I've got to do better. Or I've got to improve something.
So it's a different use case. They are going for more pre-recorded, where all the talks are everything live. It also doesn't have that much of a speaker-host interaction. So the difference there is that, you know, we spent way more time upfront during the recording. That's why I kind of, you know, knew that part better. And it's going to be more about switching videos than it is actually too much about the live streaming. So it makes life easier during the live, but upfront there's a way more work. But I think it's worth getting the higher quality, like you said, and the consistency, James, that they are aiming at there as well. Mm-hmm. Maybe, you know, as for the platform, I probably still use mixer.com, but given the fact that we're like streaming video, there's only one cloud mixer that does it well, which is Easy Live. So we're not going to go with StreamYard or with the GoLightstream. And Easy Live also allows you to get support from that team, where all the others, they don't have any support. So, you know, it depends on how end your production you wanted to make it. That makes it different. So there's a lot of options, and I hope I presented a lot of options, but not everything is, you know, depending on your requirements,
yeah,
you'll do something different there as well. So
cool. Anyone else?
So I've got a question. It's a little bit of an aside maybe, but something I've been struggling with is I've got a single big monitor, and I know a lot of people have this scenario too, and they want to have presenter mode working. And have you seen any kind of approach, or has anybody seen an approach for managing that somehow? So you can see your presenter notes over here, you can share your screen over here, that kind of thing.
Thank you, Donnie. Yeah, I've been struggling with that one too.
So I think part of it is the keynote problem, that they blank all other monitors while you're presenting. Is that it?
Well, I mean, if you've only got one monitor and you want to see presenter notes, you either share the window with presenter notes in it, or you share the normal window and you can't see the notes at all. Because it takes over the whole screen.
So I think one of the slides had this this mini, was it the teleprompter, right? You're basically, you know, using your phone as a teleprompter close to the camera. It's, you know, it's not best thing, but that's kind of what people I've seen using. And coming back to the keynote problem, where the problem is, even if you have multiple monitors, it will take over all the monitors, so you can't see anything else. The trick I've seen people do is actually export their keynote file to HTML and share that as a presentation, so you can keep seeing other stuff on your screen as well. But yeah, it isn't the best thing. And especially for example, I made a mistake. I have a big monitor now, but yeah, it's still annoying because now I have to split up my my big screen. I know they have like a split. I can actually put like 2 HDMI into the screen. So I have like a side-by-side screen. So that might be one of the ways of doing it, depending on how your layout is. It depends on the monitor there. So.
Sure, Elizabeth. Yeah.
Any learnings people want to share that, you know, that highlighted or were useful for them, just for me as feedback or others?
Just in terms of like when you give the talk, I think that you should do a little bit of setup about all the talks and what it was and what the, you know, maybe some tweets, people's experiences of it, just to set the scene. Because you did do a really good job. So, you know, it's all right to say, I did a really good job. And this is what I learned. So, you know, you can say, here are some people saying I did a really good job, if you're not comfortable with that.
No, I'm fine. But it's just finding how many slides can one fit in 30 seconds.
Of course, right? But people want to know where you've, you know, and also I guess from your perspective, I mean, you know, you worked in video for many years. And so that's also another thing that from a bona fides perspective, I think people might find helpful. See, this is happening now. The light is getting too bright. This is going to make everything go bad for my re-recording of the talk. Fab. So that would be some feedback from me, at least.
Did anybody learn something today?
Oh, so much goodness. Everyone is going to steal your stack for sure. No, it was extremely, the signal to noise was extremely high. And, you know, you can never ask for more than kind of all killer, no filler. So that was really good. I mean, just what you said, you know, 250 slides worth of information in 50 slides or whatever. So no, that was fantastic. I learned a lot, and I'm sure Katie will be. HashiCorp may have learned something too.
Definitely. I also want to bring Craig's comment up from the chat right now. Says feels very much like there's a huge amount for him to learn. It would be great to condense down to some baby steps. What's the most bang for buck? I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kitty.
No, I was going to change the subject, so you go ahead.
No. I think the easiest, like $50 for use StreamYard. It will get you a long way. Get a little bit of higher, you know, an IKEA lamp, or at least get the lighting right with your webcam. And those two things will make a huge difference in your experience. So.
I wanted to reiterate the buddy system part. I thought that I never have called it that because in my structure, just the MC is kind of the self-proclaimed buddy of that person. But a lot of my virtual events cater to new speakers. So actually identifying it as a buddy system before the conference would probably give them peace of mind going into their sometimes first speaking engagement. So I like that. I'm gonna take that from you.
Yeah, that's something that's worked out well for us with some other events. And it really helped to encourage more first-time speakers, more diverse speakers as well, of offering them more assistance with getting up and running, whether that's with the speaking or with the tools or whatever it was. The thing I really liked about it, I think the thing that really stood out to me the most of everything was probably that plan for failure piece. And I think that's something where you need the expertise of people who have done it a lot to understand what the most likely failure modes are. So that was really, really good.
Thanks.
Patrick,
Flip side, I guess I'd suggest, and I figured it out while I was watching it, but the diagrams with all the streaming and mixer setup, it was a little bit challenging to figure out what the different pieces were there to do. And so it helped to have like a little bubble explaining like, oh, the local mixer's here for this, and then the cloud mixer's here for that, and then that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But thanks.
I started too late on the slides. I had too many slides until I first pasted all my bookmarks. Like, oh my God, I like 250 slides. And so, yeah, I really like edited until 5 minutes before this. So. But we can improve next iteration, right?
Paul is asking if we're cool to post your slides on flyless.dev.
Sure. I'll send them, export them, so you can have them.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
If I can get the video.
Yeah. We'll be. I mean,
Definitely.
I think the plan is to post the video for sure, so that it can be shared.